Welcome back to another episode in our tutorial series for making an FPS in Unreal Engine 4. In this episode, we're going to be covering how to drop the weapon after we've picked it up. So let's get right into it by going into our settings here. And we're needing to add an input so that way we have a button to press that drops the weapon. So we'll go down to input here and add on action mappings, and we'll just call this drop item. Now the key I'm going to have this be is G. So I'll type in G here, find that. And then let's go to our character now, and let's set up the function and events for actually dropping the item. So down here, let's get drop item, and that's going to be the event here, is the input action drop item. So first thing that we're going to want to do off of this is actually check if our item is currently equipped. Because if it's not, we don't want to drop anything, and we don't want to run this because who knows what it could mess up. Most likely nothing. It really wouldn't mess anything up besides throw a bunch of errors, but it could potentially mess up some camera things. Now that we have this, we know that we only want to execute this if it's true. So let's detach from actor, and the target is going to be our equipped item because that's what we're going to be dropping. Now this is just the basic structure, but we'll be constantly iterating on this in future episodes. We want to change all of these to keep world, so that way it drops exactly in the location where our hands currently are. And then we want to simulate the physics and everything, so that way it does actually drop. So let's get this equipped item and set simulate physics. It's going to automatically get the skeletal mesh. And in the case of our weapon, we only have one skeletal mesh, that's our gun, but you would want the physics to be simulating on whatever the parent of your weapon is, so that way the whole thing simulates physics and not just part of the mesh. So in this case, the parent of that whole thing is the skeletal mesh. So we want simulate to be true here, and then off of this same thing, we want set collision enabled, and we want to set that to collision enabled. Now we want to get the equipped item as weapon and test physics. So that way we know that we're wanting to test the physics. That will allow our specific functions in the weapon blueprint to run as they're intended. Now, last few things that we need to do is reset the camera to what it belongs to, and also tell the character that there is no longer a weapon equipped. So I control drag. We want to alt drag to set the equip item here, and we'll leave that blank to kind of indicate nothing. Now we can set is item equipped to be false as well. And we want to get our anim instance, and this is something that we're going to be using more and more. So I'm going to show you how to get this manually, and then I'm going to just make a macro that we're going to use from here on out. So we want to get anim instance, and that gets the animation instance of our character mesh, which is our third person mesh over here, or our full body mesh rather. And then we know exactly what our animation blueprint is. It's anim BP player character. If you don't know what your animation blueprint is, you can go to your mesh, then you can go to anim class and see what you have selected here. That's your animation blueprint. So we know we have anim BP. So I want to cast anim BP, and that allows us to use the variables and set them and get them, and everything that is happening over here we can essentially interact with. What we want to set is item equipped, and we know that's false. Now I believe the way that we have our animation instance, it should actually detect that this has been set to false and then automatically set it to false, but I'm just kind of doing this for redundancy. It doesn't really hurt anything because we want to be certain that the animation knows that we no longer have a weapon equipped. So the way we can collapse this into a macro is just by selecting these and collapse to macro. That easy. Now you may be wondering, why would I want to do that, and what does that do for me? So first of all, I'm going to name this get anim instance here. First of all, that kind of just encapsulates exactly what we've done in here into a much more palatable, if you will, but also size reasonable constraints. So instead of having, you could potentially have tons and tons of nodes in here, and it just spit out the one thing that you need. So it's just a lot nicer to be able to drag this exact thing over as many times as you need, instead of either doing this manually every time or copy pasting that. Either way, you basically have a little function that's not really a function, it's a macro, but you've got this macro that you can just pull out and use at any time. So it's very, very nice. So now we want to update our cam states, or stats rather, but it's still the states of our cam, because we already set that up in the last episode. So if you missed that, you can see how we set that up. We already had camera switching, but I added this update cam stats event, so that way we can call that at any time that we need. And this is kind of the first time that it's really coming in handy. But we also want to do something individually that isn't going to be handled by the update cam. We want to switch on cam in use. So that is kind of what we're doing over here. I mean, it's exactly what we're doing. We are switching on cam in use, but this is for like general cam switching. This does not indicate whether we have a weapon equipped or not. It does in this instance, but not, of course, in the first-person instance, and especially not from having an item equipped to dropping the item. So what we want is to get cam in use. So that way we have that variable. Now we need to get our character movement, because we are going to be setting the orient rotation to movement variable. And we want to set these two different things based off of third person and first person. Now, the reason we normally don't have to set these is because this is basically good for setting stuff within unequipped states and even equipped states, because we can still change our camera and whatnot. But the orient rotation to movement is something that is changed, especially in third person, based off of whether we have a weapon equipped or not. We want this to be true and this to be false. And then if we hop in and play here, we can pick it up and in first person drop it, and everything operates how we'd expect. And in third person, let's just pick it up and go into third person, move around, shoot and everything, and then drop it, and our controls return just how we'd expect, both in third person and first person. So that's how we drop an item. Now, of course, I know we still don't have item picking up in third person, many other things, so those will all be added. I think I'm either going to get to third person picking up or to crouching in the next episode. It may be, I'm kind of up in the air on what I'm going to be doing for the next episode. So regardless, thank you so much for watching this tutorial. I hope it helped. If it did, please leave a like and a comment, all that stuff. Got a Discord channel where you can get help if anything is stumping you in these videos. I don't really have a lot of time to attend to comments all the time or DMs, but I do have a great community in that server that really likes to help out and help with the solutions. So feel free to hop in there and ask questions away. So once again, thank you very much for watching, and have a good one.